Your legs could be losing strength right now, and you might not even notice until the day of flight of stairs suddenly feels impossible, or you catch yourself gripping the armrest just to stand up from a chair. So here's a question worth sitting with for a second. What if the answer wasn't a gym membership, a physical therapist, or an expensive supplement bottle, but a seed that costs less than your morning coffee? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why researchers keep circling back to this one cheap, humble seed, how it may help support your leg strength after 60, and the one simple mistake almost everyone makes when they try to use it. This one's for you if you're over 60, or if you love somebody who is, and you've noticed that legs which used to feel steady and dependable now feel a little less certain than they used to. Maybe the stairs feel taller than they used to be. Maybe standing up from the couch takes an extra push, or a short pause to find your balance before you trust your own legs again. If any of that sounds familiar, stay with me, because what's coming isn't complicated, isn't expensive, and doesn't ask you to change your entire life just to see a difference. Here's something most people don't realize until it's already happening to them: muscle doesn't vanish overnight. It slips away quietly, a little at a time, year after year, long before you'd ever notice it in the mirror. Once you pass the age of 30, research shows the average person starts losing somewhere around 3 to 5% of their muscle mass every single decade. That number sounds small enough to shrug off. But once you cross 60, that loss picks up speed, and it shows up in your legs first, because your legs are doing the hardest, most constant work in your entire body just to keep you upright, walking, and balanced every day. Think about it for a second. The short walk to the mailbox that used to take no thought at all. Getting out of the car and needing an extra beat before you feel steady on your feet. A curb you used to step off without a second glance, that now makes you pause and think about it first. That's not just getting older. That's your leg muscles quietly losing strength, month after month, and it's connected to something happening deep inside your body that almost nobody talks about: low-grade, chronic inflammation. You can't see it. It doesn't hurt. But researchers who study aging call it one of the biggest hidden drivers behind why muscles struggle to stay strong as the years add up. And it matters more than it sounds like it should, because weaker legs don't just mean a slower walk. Studies following older adults have found that people dealing with significant muscle loss face a dramatically higher risk of falling, and a fall that might have meant nothing at 40 can mean a broken hip, a hospital stay, or months of lost independence after 60. And once independence starts slipping, even in small ways, it's rarely just about the legs anymore. It's about confidence. It's about whether you feel comfortable saying yes to a walk with your grandkids, or a trip you'd otherwise talk yourself out of. Now, before we go any further, let's be honest about something, because I'm not here to oversell you on a seed. I know what some of you are already thinking: how could one small, cheap seed possibly matter when you're dealing with real, noticeable weakness? That's a completely fair question, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you a spoonful of seeds replaces walking, replaces enough protein in your meals, or replaces an honest conversation with your doctor if something feels seriously wrong. It doesn't, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something you don't need. But most of us aren't chasing a miracle cure. We're looking for small, affordable, doable changes that quietly stack up over months and years until they actually mean something. And that's exactly where this particular seed earns its place at your table. So let's actually talk about flaxseed, or alsi, as it's known in South Asian kitchens, where it's been quietly used for generations, long before anyone slapped the word superfood on it. The first reason it matters here comes down to fat, but the healthy kind. Flaxseed is one of the richest plant sources on Earth of a specific omega-3 fat called ALA. In plain terms, omega-3s are the same family of healthy fats you've probably heard about in fish like salmon, and only one other seed, chia, beats flaxseed for how much of it packs in. And omega-3 fats are known for one thing above almost everything else: calming inflammation. Remember that quiet, invisible inflammation we just talked about, the kind tied to shrinking muscles and higher fall risk? Several reviews pulling together the scientific research on omega-3s and older adults have found something genuinely encouraging. People getting more of these fats tend to show modestly better strength and physical function than those who don't, likely because calmer inflammation gives aging muscle a better environment to maintain itself in. I'll be honest with you, I started adding a spoonful of ground flaxseed to my own breakfast a while back, mostly for heart health if I'm being truthful. But the more I researched this exact topic for this video, the more I noticed a pattern among people who stick with it consistently: a little less stiffness getting up in the morning, a little more confidence on the stairs. That's not a guarantee, and it's not magic. But it's the kind of small, honest signal worth paying attention to. And that's just the first reason. It gets better. Flaxseed also happens to be a solid, dependable source of magnesium, a mineral your muscles simply cannot function properly without. Magnesium is what allows your muscle fibers to contract and then release again, over and over, thousands of times a day, every single time you take a step, climb a stair, or push yourself up out of a chair. When magnesium runs low, which becomes more common as we age and as certain common medications interfere with how your body absorbs it, muscles can feel weaker, tighter, and more prone to cramping, including that middle-of-the-night leg cramp that jolts you awake. A small, cheap seed that quietly helps top up that mineral, alongside a balanced diet, is doing more for your legs than it usually gets credit for. But here's the part almost nobody mentions, the twist that actually made me want to sit down and make this video in the first place. Flaxseed contains something called lignans, plant compounds found in far higher concentration inside flax than in almost any other food on the planet. In simple terms, lignans act as antioxidants, meaning they help protect your cells, including your muscle cells, from the everyday wear and tear that quietly builds up over decades of simply being alive. Researchers who study aging often point to exactly this kind of cellular stress as another background contributor to muscle decline over time. It isn't flashy. It's not the kind of thing that makes headlines or gets its own commercial. But it's steady, quiet support, working the same way a good foundation works underneath a house. You never see it, and you rarely think about it, but everything else depends on it holding up. Then there's fiber, and a modest amount of plant protein, both of which flaxseed delivers in a single spoonful. Fiber feeds a healthy gut, and a growing body of research links gut health directly to inflammation levels throughout your entire body, which loops us right back to the exact muscle conversation we started with. It also happens to support healthy cholesterol and steady your blood sugar, which matters because both of those quietly affect how well your whole body, legs included, keeps functioning as you age. None of this requires you to overhaul your kitchen or learn some complicated new routine. 1 spoonful. That's genuinely it. Stirred into oatmeal, blended into a smoothie, sprinkled over yogurt, mixed into a bowl of dal or soup, it disappears into whatever you're already eating, with barely any taste of its own. One honest note before we move on. Flaxseed is safe for the vast majority of people as an everyday food, but it's not entirely without exceptions. It's high in fiber, so starting with a small amount and drinking plenty of water helps your body adjust without any discomfort. And if you're on blood-thinning medication, it's worth a quick conversation with your doctor first, simply because flaxseed can have a mild effect there too. That's not meant to scare you off. It's meant to help you use it the smart way. Simple. Nothing dramatic. Just smart. Now, remember that one simple mistake I mentioned at the very start? Here it is: most people eat flaxseed whole, straight out of the bag. And whole flax seeds are frustratingly good at surviving your digestive system completely intact, which means most of the benefit we just spent the last few minutes talking about passes right through you, unused. The fix takes about 10 seconds. Buy it already ground, or grind whole seeds yourself in a small coffee grinder, and keep it in the fridge so it stays fresh instead of going stale. That's the entire trick. No special equipment beyond something you probably already own. No extra time carved out of your day, no complicated meal plan to follow. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, ground, mixed into food you're already eating, is genuinely all it takes to get started. And the people who actually notice a difference tend to be the ones who treat it like brushing their teeth, not a big event, just something that quietly happens most days without much thought at all. And here's the piece I really want you to walk away with, because it's the part almost nobody puts together. Most people who've heard of flaxseed think of it purely for heart health, or for digestion, and stop right there. Almost nobody realizes it may also be quietly supporting the exact muscles keeping them steady on their feet, the ones responsible for climbing stairs without thinking twice, standing up from a chair without a second push, and simply walking through your own life with confidence instead of caution. That connection, between one cheap seed sitting in your kitchen cabinet and something as fundamental as staying steady on your own two legs, is the one thing most people never hear. Now you have. If this was useful, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because I'm covering one affordable, genuinely science-backed habit like this every single week, built specifically for people who want to stay strong and independent without spending a fortune or overhauling their entire life to get there. And I'd honestly like to know, had you already heard that flaxseed might be connected to muscle and leg strength, or is this the first time you're putting those two things together? Type it in the comments, I read every single one of them. And if you're curious what else belongs on this same list of small, cheap habits worth adopting after 60, that's exactly what next week's video is going to cover. So here's the short version. In case you remember nothing else, your legs lose strength quietly, inflammation is a big part of why, and flaxseed, cheap, simple, and easy to add to almost anything, may genuinely help support that fight, as long as you grind it first and actually stick with it. Strength after 60 was never about doing everything. It's about doing the few small things, consistently, that actually add up over time. This might just be one of them.